Hey yo, YouTube, what's going on, man? It's your boy Don back with another reaction vid for y'all today. And y'all see it, man. Y'all see what we got going on. The real battle royal Squid Game. Nazino Island, tragedy, 1933. Holy. Let's get educated right quick, learn a little something. Now this vid, it's only being made because niggas was just up in the bed trying to go to sleep. Niggas can't go to sleep right now, so I said, let me get up, eat some, smoke some, do some, then try to go to sleep. So we got the motherfucking sweet potatoes on deck. Yes, sir. Let me make sure y'all get a good angle. Yeah, that good shit. That good shit. That's what we eating on, man. The last of my sweet potatoes, man. And the last of my little good. And the rest of my good, man. I'm gonna put it in a bowl. Hit that bitch. Kill these. Watch the vid. We chilling, man. Hey, go get everything you need. Your popcorn, your soda pops, yo, everything you need, man. Your smoke, your drink, whatever. But yeah, let's get right, man. I did an intro. If you new to the channel, welcome. My name Dom. If you not know, what's good, man? Yeah. But yeah, with all that being said, let's get to the vid. Straight to it.
Today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, NordVPN. Have you ever received a suspicious link?
And I know this is a little different. It's not no music vid. This is like I'm on my DJ Go shit. This is my. I'm not gonna make a whole nother channel. Maybe later, a whole nother channel for another whole nother type of vids. But these vids like vids I watch. Vids I was just watching on my phone in the bed but couldn't sleep. Vid. So shit like this, like the infographic show, or shows like this, history. I be watching shit like this. So let's watch it.
Or accidentally opened up a web page that you shouldn't have gone near to begin with. With NordVPN, you're finally safe. NordVPN is a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online. It creates an encrypted tunnel for your data, protects your Russia, 1933. On May 18, 1933, on the direct orders of Stalin himself, 5,000 men and women arrived at Nazino, a small isolated island on the river Orb, deep in the remote.
First question, they probably gonna answer it. They said Stalin. Stalin was an old honcho for the Russians back in the day. Did he gather up all these Russians and bring them to this island? That's my first question.
And barren wilderness of western Siberia. Within a matter of weeks, 4,000 of them would either just die from exposure, disappear, drown, or be eaten. This.
We're gonna take it back because I feel like they probably told us what type of people they took. So let's pull it. Start over real quick.
1933. On May 18th.
Because before I get to judging motherfuckers, and I gotta be informed.
1933, on the direct orders of Stalin himself, 5,000 men and women arrived at Nazino, a small isolated island on the river Orb, deep in the remote and barren wilderness of western Siberia. Within a matter of weeks, 4,000 of them would either just die from exposure, disappear, drown, or be eaten. This was the real-life battle royale. The Soviet Union was a miserable place to live during this period, with severe food shortages which resulted in millions of people dying of starvation. Any form of criticism of the state was dealt with brutally.
So he was actually a dictator, if I'm correct. On some Hitler shit. I don't really know,
Where the offender would probably get a life sentence and be sent to a gulag, where they would literally be worked to death carrying out hard labor. Stalin's purge of the so-called socially harmful elements of society mainly concentrated on certain groups, such as the Cossacks, ethnic minorities, intellectuals, and the kulaks, who were peasants who owned their own land and were sometimes hesitant in contributing a share of their goods to the common collective. Even the armed forces were not exempt, as mass purges were commonplace, which normally resulted in the execution of its most experienced officers. The Nazino settlers also included a wide cross-section of urban society, not just criminals and vagrants, but also regular workers, children, and pensioners. Many were taken simply because they had failed to obtain an internal passport. However,
if I heard that right, let's play it back. They getting fucked up because they ain't had no passport. I know that's not right. Let's play it back.
Cross-section of urban society, not just criminals and vagrants, but also regular workers, children, and pensioners. Many were taken simply because they had failed to obtain an internal passport. However, others included a party member who had stepped
An internal passport. So, like a domestic passport. I don't know. I mean, in America, we don't need a passport to travel across America. This is 1933, so shit was different. They had a dictator, so I don't know. I'm not gonna try to break it down and shit.
out of her apartment without her party card, a worker buying cigarettes who had left his passport at home, a 12-year-old girl waiting at a train station while her mother bought bread, as well as the pregnant wife of an...
All right, now let's hold on, cause my fault, y'all. I be trying. I need to know what's going on. I be talking and missing shit.
An internal passport. However, others included a party member who had stepped out of her apartment without her party card, a worker buying cigarettes who had left his passport at home, a 12-year-old girl waiting at a train station while her mother bought bread, as well as the pregnant wife of a naval officer and a 103-year-old man. None of them were pioneers ready to settle and farm a harsh and unforgiving land. In February 1933, the head of the secret police, Genrik Jagoda, and the head of the Gulag labor camp system, Matvey Berman, got together and approached Stalin with a plan to resettle 2 million of these people into what was thought to be the vast area of untapped natural resources in Siberia and Kazakhstan. However, the environment was...
Just keep watching, Dom. You see, this is my problem. I be trying to just listen.
harsh and extremely cold, and much of the area was tundra and frozen all year round. Even when it did thaw out in the summer, the ground became swampy and infertile and unsuitable for any kind of agriculture. To add to this, the air would have been thick with mosquitoes. One of the areas that was chosen for the project was Nazino Island, which was on the north bank of the Orb River, deep inside the Siberian wilderness. The island was only ever visited by the local Ostyak people from the nearby village of Nazino to gather tree bark to use as firewood. It was relatively small, measuring just 2 miles or about 3.2 kilometers long and 650 yards or 595 meters wide, and mostly made up of inhospitable swampland. Hunting and foraging was going to be nearly impossible. Many thousands of the so-called undesirables, which also included hardened and petty criminals by now, were being held in overcrowded prisons in Moscow and Leningrad. So, in the spring of 1933, they were loaded into all sorts of railway carriages, which included cattle trucks, and began a 10-day journey to Tomsk, where the half-completed transit camps were waiting for them. During the journey, gangs of criminals systematically beat up and robbed their fellow passengers. On May 14, 1933, after the prisoners had been processed and selected, 5,000 of these settlers set off on their journey to Nazino Island. They were loaded onto river barges that had only been designed to carry timber down the River Orb and were only given 200 grams of bread each a day for the 5-day journey. By the time they had arrived at Nazino, 30 people had died on the barges, and a third of them were too weak to even stand. The authorities had failed to provide any form of shelter on the island, nor any basic tools or building materials to construct basic shelters against the elements. On their first night there, it snowed heavily, and almost 300 people had frozen to death by the morning from exposure. This happened every night, and some people were actually burned alive from laying too close to the campfires that they had made to try to keep themselves warm. 20 tons of flour had been left on the island for the settlers, but straight away fights broke out when guards tried to distribute it daily, and they ended up firing at the mob to break them up. As no ovens were available there to make bread or anything else, the settlers either ate the flour raw or mixed it with dirty water from the river, and this led to an outbreak of dysentery. Daily fighting soon broke out over whatever resources were still available, and killings became commonplace, and the bodies were robbed of any possessions they had, including money and especially gold fillings and crowns from their mouths. To add to all this misery,
You not down bad if you ain't never had to go take down somebody with some. Oh, I'm trying to. Basically, what I was about to say, you ain't never been down bad if you ain't never did what they just did. Take motherfuckers down, take them all that shit, even their gold teeth and whatnot. So when you feeling down, you feeling bad, just remember, you not desperate enough to go rip some niggas' teeth out. Like, what? You good, man. You gonna be alright.
9 days later, another 1,200 settlers arrived on the island, and very quickly groups of rival gangs started to form, and murder and extortion became commonplace. In desperation, many
Hold on.
rings and crowns from their mouths. To add to all this misery, 9 days later, another 1,200 settlers arrived on the island, and very quickly groups of rival gangs started to form, and murder and extortion became commonplace. In desperation, many
I ain't gonna lie. I feel like this is how white people feel when they hear about the hood and shit. When they hear about gang violence. This is exactly how I feel right now. I feel like them white folks looking into the hood right now. Like, what the fuck is y'all doing, man? Why don't y'all put y'all shit together? I'm not gonna say it, I've heard it too many times.
Many of the settlers tried to construct crude rafts out of pieces of wood that they could find to flee the island, but they were so basic that they were not fit for purpose and they just sank. So they simply drowned in the ice-cold river and their bodies were washed up on the shore along the river Orb. If they did manage to reach the opposite bank of the river alive, the guards would go and hunt them down for sport, and no questions were ever asked as to what had happened to them. Because of the lack of sanitation, there was soon an outbreak of typhus, which many succumbed to because of their already weak state of health. But far worse was to come, because within a week...
Even though this is all animated, they cartoons, but they look fucked up. Damn, they look fucked up.
A doctor discovered cases of cannibalism beginning to appear on the island as people became desperate to find something to eat. It started out with cutting slices of flesh from the dead corpses and cooking them, but then progressed to killing people who were so weak or were so close to death, and therefore so vulnerable and unable to defend themselves. When one survivor was asked if he had eaten human flesh while on the island, he replied that he had only eaten livers and hearts, and then only from people who were dying anyway. Another incident involved a young woman who was having a relationship with one of the guards. When he was not around to protect her, some men tied her to a tree, killed her, and cut off everything from her body that they could eat. Despite the many arrests and executions by the guards, the situation was brought under control when after...
Who was arresting who? How do you arrest somebody there? Y'all already all fucked up. Even, I mean, what did the guards have? Like, was the guards... It sounds like the guards was going through it too. What the fuck is they guarding? Did I miss that too? Like, what is they guarding? They just controlling them. And just killing them. Bro, like... Some shit just be so dumb. It just be confusing me. Like, it really... You know, some shit really be so simple, it's just confusing. Like, that's really what they was just doing, man. It's like... If it's real, I don't know. Watch the vid down.
After a damning internal report was submitted, it was decided to abandon the settlement on Nazino Island only after a month after it had been set up. Approximately 1/3 of the settlers had died, while another third were reported as missing, possibly escaped, drowned, or eaten. Just over 2,000 people had survived. Unknown to the settlers at the time, all of their hardships had been in vain, as back in Moscow there had been a change in policy, and Stalin and the authorities had decided to cancel the whole settler experiment program. There was an official investigation into the Nazino incident, but the findings were never made public at the time. Several local officials and guards were given short prison sentences or dismissed from office. In the mid-1980s, the human rights group Memorial made the details of their findings public after they had investigated the episode themselves. A memorial cross was placed on the island in 1993 to remember those who had lost their lives there. The inscription on its plaque reads, "To the victims of political repression, 1933 to 1993." And every June, the local villagers from Nazino cross the river and place a wreath.
Was that how long the, that's only 60 years. The Soviet Union was around, I mean, obviously, the 1900s, obviously, yeah. I think,
On the memorial.
So was that 60 years how long the Soviets ran? Like that era, what's the Stalin? Was that his reign for 60 years or some shit? Or his shit went on for 60 years? Because they just said that little experiment went on for a month. Hey man, if you like the vid, if you like the reaction, if you got more interest, I mean, let me finish what I'll be doing that a lot. I'll be going on to my next sentence without finishing what I was saying. If you like the vid, like the vid. If you think I'm a cool guy, subscribe. If you got more interest in videos, or if you think I don't know something, recommend it to me so I can go watch it, learn something. You got that music, that hot shit, send it my way. You got that funny shit, send it my way. You got something scary, send it my way. So you get it, man. Whatever you want me to react to next, send it my way, man. Comment, put it in the comments or whatever. I'm gonna get to it. So like I said, that's that with the vid. Come see me in my next vid, man. And that's all I got for y'all for today. Y'all be smooth, man. I'm gone.